Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Gabe,
I'm Rob,
and this is Socials Podcast.
number 5 now.
Yep, episode 5. So happy to be here, man. It's exciting. Got a lot to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we release audio every Wednesday at 4:20 on Anchor and Spotify. Check us out there. And then the following Monday, we release the video of the previous week's podcast. We release onto the WeedTube and YouTube as well.
Shout out WeedTube, by the way, just to let you know some new stuff. They just got their iOS app, so if everyone who has an iPhone, you can check them out. It's hard to find, like they said if you check out their posts at the WeedTube, it's hard to find the App Store. So I recommend just going on Instagram, go to the WeedTube, and then get the app through their link in bio. That'll definitely be a much faster route, and that way you can get to watching us faster. So.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely great. Shout out to Aaron. I really hope we can connect with him and, get him on this podcast. That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah, I would.
But yeah, so it's been a nice week. It's been busy,
Yeah.
We got a lot planned. We got a lot going.
Just first off, if this is your first time tuning in to Socials Podcast, just to let you know a little bit more about what Socials is about.
Oh, yeah.
We're about kind of bringing cannabis into the light of society, trying to normalize it, making sure that people understand, like, hey, like, it's okay, right? Like, we're just trying to remove that stigma.
Yeah, cannabis can be part of your life without being all of your life. That's what we're about, and we firmly believe that. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, like a lot's been going on. I feel like the whole just this whole week has been just hectic, man.
This week has been crazy.
Even if you're just on Instagram, it's just a lot, 2019, everything that's going on with, women's rights and
just politics in general.
Yeah, it's just. But the thing I do like is that it's driving our attention, and people are focused, people are engaged, and people are stating their opinions. And the more people we get talking about things, I feel like it'll help us move on and,
push forward. More importantly,
definitely. Yeah, I feel like right now, just what's going on in Alabama, it's very, very hectic. Like
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I for me personally, I feel like us as men, we need to definitely step up. I feel like we don't, like what happened to chivalry? Like
or just being like allies, right?
We're all human,
Yeah.
We're all on this earth, and I personally feel like we should not be trying to make laws over women's bodies. Honestly, I just feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, like, the thing that I always go back to is, like, who am I to like, judge, to like, rule against, for something, against something, like,
yeah.
I don't know, whether it's on the, the super controversial, like, abortion type stuff, or whether it's cannabis, whether it's, like, whatever, like, who am I to say, like, you can or can't do this?
Exactly.
Right. If you're not hurting, like, yourself or anybody else, anything like that, like, it's your thing, right? Like, just do your thing.
Yeah, like let people live in peace. At the end of the day, my life is my life, and I respect everybody out there. And I feel like there are a lot of people who feel the same way. There are a lot of men out there who support women, and we support it's their choice, because I can't imagine being in that kind of position. I just can't. Like, even the idea of childbirth is just crazy. I mean, man, it's crazy. I could only respect to women.
Yeah. Can I make, like, a segue?
Yeah.
Like, just while we're on the topic of, like, men, women, all that kind of stuff.
Let's get to it.
Dude, Cal State Fullerton Undie Run.
Oh.
I was talking to you a little bit about it before, like.
Yep.
So I think a lot of colleges do undie runs, right? So I don't think it's, like, a foreign concept to anybody, but just, like, at the end of the year, everybody just gets in their underwear and, like, runs across campus, basically. I mean, it's fun, right? All that kind of stuff. But, like, man, I was hearing a lot of stuff from girls about guys just, like, inappropriately touching and, like, making, like, weird comments and like making really inappropriate touching and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, guys, come on.
Yeah, like what are you doing?
What are we what are we doing exactly?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually there at the Undie Run. So I went, and I was running with my girlfriend, and I noticed that something like that did actually happen as well. Like a guy grabbed my girlfriend's butt, and I was so mad. You don't even understand, man. And I approached him and I said, "Hey, that's my girlfriend." I didn't want to immediately just start fighting him. Why? Like, I should at least let him know like what's going on. Like, hey, like, that's my girlfriend you just touched.
Yeah.
And he was very apologetic, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, bro." But it's like, well, you shouldn't. Why are you doing that in the first place?
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is like why are you sorry now that like a dude is involved?
Yeah.
Like, you're not sorry when you're just like objectifying her, right? Like, oh, here's just a piece of meat that I can like get off on or whatever. And then like when a dude comes up, oh, now it's a person, like, oh, now I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get past that. We got to see people as people.
The crazy thing is, like, if she's single, you're telling me she wouldn't be sorry, or you wouldn't be sorry, like that's just, it's just bizarre to me to think like that. And it's sad because there are men, I'm a man, and there are men like, not like me, but as far as like they're human, they look like me, but their thought process is totally different, and that's
they
sort
just
of
like
thing.
they see people in underwear and they're just like, oh yeah, it's just a free invitation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and
it's everywhere though. If whether you're at the Undie Run or you're in a bar, like the bar, nightclub, night scene, it's just very, it's not your typical place that you'd want your girlfriend to be at while you're at home or something like that.
Yeah.
And it sucks that they can't just like if a group of girls go out, right, to a bar, or let's say they're going to eventually a weed lounge, right? Who's to say that they're not going to get hit on at any moment in time, right?
Yeah.
And definitely girls get hit on more a lot than guys. So they have to deal with a lot of that sexual harassment than we do.
Yeah.
And it sucks because, they get it from, like, who are they getting all the sexual harassment from? From guys. And it's like...
Well, I think that we need to make a little bit of a distinction because you say like, oh, like girls might get hit on and that kind of stuff. I don't think there's inherently anything wrong with like guys approaching girls.
True.
Right? But then like there's a line.
Right.
Right.
When they get touchy and like handsy.
Like, it can be a fine line sometimes, but like there's like very clear like jumps over the line. Like, all right, I literally was just texting my girlfriend, and like this is kind of goes off what you were saying. Like, so this dude walks up to her and her friend, right? They're outside the party, just like waiting for an Uber to go back home. And he comes up and he's like telling them how pretty they were and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, like, thanks. Like, all right, we're going to like go. And like, he was like, followed them outside. Like, like he was inside, like complimenting them and like, all that kind of stuff. And like,
followed them outside.
Yeah. And then he's like asking for a Snapchat and all that. And they're like, oh no. Like, and then, my girlfriend's like, oh, well, I have a boyfriend. And then he seriously was like, oh, like, you should break up with him now. Like, you'd be happier with me, basically. Like,
what?
And she was like, no. And then he was like, nah, come on. Like, look at me. Like, what is he like or whatever? And like,
wow.
It's
that's
like,
crazy.
Come on.
That's 2019 meant for
this
you.
Is...
Oh my gosh, man. What are we doing?
Dude, it disgusts me, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
it makes me feel ashamed. Like, I feel ashamed, and I feel like, because I feel like I'm a very nice person, regardless if you're a guy or a girl.
Yeah.
Or a man or woman. I just feel like we're all human. And we need to treat each other with respect. And I'm not seeing enough of that. And I think a lot of people agree with that too. They're not seeing enough, and hopefully we can get our act together with everything that's going on, and we can move in the right direction.
Yeah.
In every part, whether it's abortion, whether it's, women's rights, even in the cannabis industry, we all need to be taking steps forward to sort of like agree to disagree, see the other side, but we need to respect each other at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's a very slow march forward, but I mean, for as bad as like some of these things are, I think that overall we are like slowly moving forward. Because if we look like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, then you go like 40, 50 years ago, like there's progress being made, but like we got to move faster.
Yeah.
Like, it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
It's legit frustrating. And it's like we're not perfect, right? Like me and you or whoever, but you know, it goes back to like the who am I to judge and all that. But like, come on.
Yeah. And not only that, it's a touchy subject. Like it's a very touchy subject. Like abortion, religion, to some extent, yeah, I'd even say cannabis is a touchy subject in certain families and in certain cultures. You know, it's sort of like a thing you don't talk about.
Well, it's I think that it's been like cannabis specifically. I think that it's just like become this taboo because of like you see we've talked about that documentary a few times now.
The Grass is
Greener. Mm-hmm. It's just like that propaganda. Yeah. That like just systematic, like this is wrong. This is like the right way to live. This is the wrong way to live. You want to be like these people, you know, like, or you want to be like the right people or the wrong people, right? And like, and it comes down to like race, right?
True.
And like
it does, like, yep.
And like, and that's what it started as, like, let's put these people down. And then now it's just transformed into not necessarily like race, but there's definitely, I think, like ethnic groups that are like incarcerated more, you know, like, for instance, definitely, right? You know, like, yeah.
And it's sad to see that. Like, it's sad to see that some people are benefiting in this process in the industry and making money, and other people are going to jail for it. Yeah. You know, but I feel like the best way to help both ends is to legalize. At the end of the day, to legalize and normalize cannabis, because it is here, and I feel like
it's not going anywhere.
No. And a lot of, like, you're talking about propaganda earlier. I feel like the media or television networks aren't letting cannabis advertisements run. And they're very strict on that, very strict on the advertising rules as far as cannabis compared to alcohol, or say. So for example, I know that you can't post a TV ad of showing people socially smoking cannabis, like in a party setting. I know that they get a lot of heat for that. And
well, I mean, just coming, because I studied advertising. Yeah. Right? So coming, like, from my perspective, at least, to just like shed a little bit of light on that. Like, you can't show, like, there's no cigarette advertisements, right?
Right.
There's barely even chewing tobacco advertisements. Like, I've only seen like magazine inserts, basically, or placements. So I think that it's just any kind of smoking. Right. It just falls under that same, like, no smoking advertisement. So whether, like, I don't see advertisements, like, especially like TV stuff, like for like vapes and pens, and then I think that you know, just anything. I know radio advertisements. I mean, they're all like, there's like different like laws regarding like TV versus print versus radio, you know, online, all that stuff. It's all different. But I know that I've heard like Juul advertise on the radio. But I also think that they did like a lot of PSAs too. Like, so it was like for like a tobacco advertisement, like in a magazine, right? Shows like, you know, the can and like some guy like chewing or doing something like lumberjack something, you know, like being manly or whatever. Right. But then it has to like have that big disclaimer, right? Like, gives you cancer. And so I think that like Juul had to do like something similar in their advertisement.
Put so like a disclaimer or something.
Yeah, because like they were caught with like their marketing was when was that? That was like fairly recent. Within the last year, they got raided by the FBI. No, I don't know.
Or the DEA or somebody.
DEA. I forgot who it was, but ultimately, like, they went in and like said like we have reasonable. Dude, I can't think right now. Like they have reasonable suspicion that Juul is marketing like specifically towards adolescents. It's like kids, really? Teenagers and stuff, right? And so they went into like their headquarters and were like, like went through a lot of like their materials and whatnot, and so they were like, I think they were fined a bunch of money. They had to pay for all these placements for these like PSAs, like, you know, like talk to your children about vaping, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a big tangent, but
yeah, no, but
so I think that there's so much regulation for advertisement because it just falls under that like smoking and drug use
like umbrella in a sense. Yeah.
But you know what's really weird?
What?
No, I just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Is pharmaceuticals is okay to advertise.
Yeah, man.
There's so much, you know.
Don't even get me started on pharmaceuticals, man.
Yeah,
it's just
but you know,
it's so controversial. It's just it's
talk
tough.
To your doctor about like anything you want to take, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's my thing is I've always been about natural. What is the most natural thing for me, right? Like water. We're drinking water. It's the most natural thing. Yeah, beer might sound nice, but if I'm thirsty, I'm gonna want a water. Yeah, you know, that's just who I am. Yeah, that's how my mind works. So to that extent, what I'm saying is like, I just, you know, doctors, it sucks they can't prescribe cannabis as often as they want to. Yeah, I know a couple people who are in like the medical field who are like supportive of cannabis, but they can't necessarily prescribe someone like, hey, they can't do it as much as they want to because of the stigma and because there are regulations, and like you say, like, and pharmaceuticals are so like they're really embedded in our lives if you think about it. Like,
Big Pharma, man.
It's just crazy. Like even like a 1-a-day vitamin, like that is still supporting the pharmaceutical world, and it's and you know, I understand that there are certain purposes. You know, I'll use a Tylenol or something if I'm feeling under the weather, but as far as like painkillers and stuff like that, I've never ever had one. You know, I've never felt the need to use that or whatever surgical procedures I've been through. So I could only imagine what it's like taking that and getting hooked on that, and like with the whole opioid epidemic, it's just it's crazy. And the craziest thing is it's not like blown up in the media as much.
No, because and it's going to sound like a conspiracy theory.
I know, yeah. You know, that's what people think, and it's like, I don't know.
But like, you know, like I genuinely think that like, and I think that there's like actually proof of like Big Pharma like lobbying, you know, for laws and all that kind of stuff to like allow them to do the things they do and to be as like embedded into like American society as they can be. You know, like I think it was like on a Ask Reddit thread.
Oh, okay.
So I love like, Reddit. Oh, like non-Americans of Reddit, what's something weird about America that you like don't understand? And like it's like always the top comments like pharmaceutical ads, like like why you have advertisements, right? And like it's Big Pharma, right? It's all like who was it? Martin Shkreli or something like that, the pharma bro.
I can't remember.
There's all these pharmaceutical companies that like jack up the prices for like these like life-saving drugs because they know that like you die if you don't take them, so you'll pay whatever it takes, right? So people get, and it's like, you know, tens of thousands of dollars a year they're spending on pills.
That's crazy, man.
You know, and it's like, how do we let this happen? You know, it's just
and it's
come on, guys, it's 2019.
Like what are we doing, man? Come on. But baby steps, you know, in my opinion, we're hopefully getting a step in the right direction. With cannabis, you know, the legalization process is long, it's grueling, but we are getting there. You know, one example is Joe Biden. Shout out to @420 stocks. I was looking at Instagram the other day, and I noticed that they posted this article where it says that Joe Biden supports decriminalizing cannabis. He supports expunging records of people with prior possessions or convictions, and he supports states setting their own policies, but he does not support full legalization. And that's sort of confusing to me because it's like, in my, like, you know, Joe Biden, he's had his fair share of his opinion of anti-cannabis, and now he's kind of taking a step back. To me, it's like a step in the right direction because he went from super anti-cannabis to sort of like oh, like I support these things. I kind of support it.
Well, 8 years with Obama will do that.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, it took that long just for people to be like, oh, okay, well, they can alter their point of view, but they're not in full support yet. Like Congress is just not there yet. And it sucks, but I think that this 2020 election cannabis is going to be a big topic.
Oh yeah.
And they're already talking about it.
I mean, Trump's talked about it.
Yeah.
I know that Andrew Yang, that he keeps popping up on my Instagram.
Yeah.
He's a Democratic candidate, but he's for like full legalization. I don't know if it went. I saw his thing. Like, I don't know if it goes like so much into detail where it's like, we're gonna expunge records and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's gonna be decriminalized if it's like legalized, right?
Right.
But I mean, we need to expunge records. If it's legal and you just happen to do it when a year ago or a month ago when it was illegal, like
your
that's
sense
just
should
timing,
be expunged. Like that's just I feel like it's common sense or just logical at that point.
Yeah. We need to do that.
Yeah. And then another step in the right direction is Oregon. I found out I was on Instagram. It's funny how I find all this stuff on Instagram. Like,
dude, social media, man. We're connected.
I feel like it's the only way the cannabis community can connect. Like, it's their main hub is Instagram. That's how I meet most of the people in the industry. And then, we figure out a place to meet face to face or we network at events. But Instagram is the main tool because, it's a good marketing tool. I'm not on Facebook as much, personally. I'm more on Instagram. And a lot more of the younger people, like millennials, are on Instagram. Yeah. People who are like 20 to 24. Yeah. 21 to 24. Too. Yeah. But Oregon, I saw under the hashtag normalized cannabis. Shout out to @Sidco_cat. She posted this, and it said that Oregon voted to legalize interstate cannabis for imports and exports. So they would allow like companies or the import and exports of cannabis.
But that would need like federal approval, right?
Right. Yeah. In the article, it said it would only go into effect if the federal government, were able to change their policies on that. And I feel like that's going to take a lot. The first step to that is going to be full legalization, and then they could talk about interstate. Crossings, because there's still a lot of states that aren't legalized both medicinally and recreationally. I feel like every state is at their own pace. Oregon obviously has been legalized for a long time, or not a long time, but longer than most.
Long compared to other states, right?
It feels long, but it's not really long, like if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's 9 states where it's legal recreationally and 29 medicinally.
And Denver, I think Denver was like the first, or Colorado was the first state to legalize, and now Denver, the city, is pushing to legalize shrooms.
I saw that.
That was crazy.
I saw that.
That is.
We just need to across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, listen, like, this is me not knowing much about economics, not knowing much about policy and taxes and all that kind of stuff. But I just feel like if we regulate stuff, I'm not like huge on like overbearing government or anything like that. I feel like just do your thing, right? But if we regulate it, so like look at the cannabis industry. Like, we're trying to get rid of like mold and pesticides and like fungus and all that kind of stuff. That like that's the potentially harmful stuff in cannabis. Yeah. Right? The stuff that can hurt you, possibly. Yeah. We're trying to get rid of that now through regulation. And so like, it's making it more expensive. Yeah, it's harder, but like there's a safer product at the end of the day. Exactly. The cannabis is the same thing. Maybe it's better quality. It's more consistent, but like the stuff that's like cut into it, I guess you could say. So like, heck, if we legalize cocaine, right? Like, you're not gonna be snorting bleach or anything like that because people are cutting it with whatever. Right. And then we get tax revenue from that. So I feel like, everybody complains about, income taxes are too high, or the roads aren't good, or the city infrastructure, or there's not enough welfare programs, or whatever it is, right? Yeah. Well, start legalizing drugs. Yeah, or just a lot of people use drugs. Yeah. And so let's like add taxes to that. Like, yeah, it'll take time to like figure itself out, but we'll start to receive like benefits, like billions of dollars in taxes.
Yeah, you're trying to open new markets and trying to create new ways to make revenue and help, get rid of this debt. Honestly, we're in so much debt in the United States, and as I'm getting older,
I don't know how we're ever gonna get out of it.
I don't know why. I feel like as I'm getting older, I feel more responsible to do something about it. I don't know why.
Me too.
It's just
I don't know. Adult responsibility,
right? It's that post collegiate like.
I got a degree. I got to do something.
Yeah, now. I pay taxes. I got to care about where my money's going, like type thing. That's just how I feel. So I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, all these examples are just steps in the right direction, and I'm hoping that we can just keep on pushing. With the WeedTubes app, making it on the new Apple Market on iOS, that just makes it easier for people to watch it. It's so easy in Apple to like everybody has an iPhone, you know, and so now that the WeedTube's there, it just makes me so happy, because the two apps I always have are Weed Maps and WeedTube, where I need to find my weed and where I want to watch it. That's just pretty much it.
And to get onto the iOS store, like it takes a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like not just like, oh, I'm just going to make this rinky dink app and then I'll start selling it or people can start downloading or whatever. Like it takes a lot. So the fact that people are putting all this effort into it and then that Apple is saying like, yeah, we approve of this. Like
that's a big
steps
step
in the right direction.
Yeah. That just shows how normalizing or how normal it's getting and how well we're doing. We just got to keep doing it. And I feel like our way of just talking about it, bringing people on, getting them to express who they are or express their story. It's just helping making it more normal.
Yeah. I actually just kind of cut in here. I found a quote. This is from Andrew Yang. I don't know much about this guy's policies or anything like that. Like I said, it's a lot of advertisements that I get for him. I know that he's like big into like universal basic income and stuff like that. I don't know how he's gonna pay for it, but but a lot of people like to promise stuff. But this quote right here that he has on his website, I think like perfectly summarizes like the type of cannabis advocate that like we need in politics, right? So this is his quote. I don't love marijuana. I'd rather people not use it heavily. But it's vastly safer than people becoming addicted to opiates like heroin. And our criminalization of it seems stupid and racist, particularly now that it's legal in some states. We should process with full legalization of marijuana and pardon those in jail for non-violent marijuana-related offenses. It's safer, less addictive. It's a safer, less addictive means to manage pain for many Americans. And it's like that's
true.
That's where, that's coming from the highest level. This is a presidential candidate.
Wow.
So if he's pushing that,
that just comes to show,
then
man.
Hopefully, he's touching other people. They spread the word.
Yeah, it just keeps spreading. Word of mouth travels so fast, man. It's the fastest news. I mean, you can't get any faster than social media, but still, I mean, as far as wow, that's great. I'm really happy to hear that. At the end of the day, that's just like I said, another step in the right direction. And California we need to figure our stuff out, man. We've been legal for a year now on the recreational side, so it's very controversial. One of the guys we follow a lot is the Pop Brothers at Law. I love those guys, man. Though they're awesome, man. They produce such great content. If you don't follow them, you should learn the script. I had a buddy of ours. He actually got pulled over recently, and he was telling me that when he got pulled over, the officers said that his car started to smell like cannabis or weed, he was saying. And he asked him, "Did you smoke?" And he said no. And then he told the cop told him to get out the car, put him in handcuffs, and then they brought in another car, had his car searched by the dogs, and then he let him go. And I was just like, man, if you would have just kept that script, man.
Yeah, they make it easy.
They do. You read the shut the F up script. Man, I love that script.
STFU.
Yep. It's Friday. Oh wait, yeah. They do it every Friday too. They post it. I love their whole video.
Yeah.
But definitely check them out. Yeah, they posted an article too saying that the LA Times actually dropped the article. It was the California made a bill that would require one store for every 4 to 5 No, I'm sorry.
One for every 4 liquor licenses.
Yeah, for every 4 bars or restaurants with every liquor license, they would require 1 store, or every 10,000 residents, whichever is fewer. So,
okay.
But the problem with that is I know a lot of cities ban cannabis sales, and it's kind of controversial because a lot of those cities that ban cannabis sales, the voters voted for it. And one of the questions they posted on their post was, do you think the state should step in and force cities whose citizens approve cannabis businesses to allow sales? What do you think?
I mean, if people want it, then let them have it, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, definitely know that like there's a whole spectrum of communities, right?
Right.
Some that I imagine like Humboldt, Emerald Triangle, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'd imagine they're like overall probably pretty for it, right? And all that kind of stuff. If you go to a place that's I don't know, a little bit more or a lot more conservative.
Like, I know Beverly Hills for sure bans cannabis sales. I saw an article that they do. I think Chino Hills is another one, and Eastvale is another one.
Okay.
So that's like LA, Inland Empire, even OC. I know like South OC, a lot of it, they're very...
Yeah, I'm sure like Yorba Linda.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only like true red city in Orange County, I think.
Yeah, but I definitely feel like if the voters, if majority of the people in the city voted to approve it and to allow cannabis sales, then I feel like the state should step in. But at the same time, I don't want the state to be some sort of like bully,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's so hard because I want to respect people who don't smoke but respect us, but at the same time, we need to expand this market,
Yeah.
Especially, go ahead.
Well, I just kind of, I was starting to think like, well, just because let's just think not cannabis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about like liquor licenses, like a bar or something. Just because there's a bar doesn't mean you have to go to it, right?
True.
I mean, there could be negative effects of having a bar. Maybe people are rowdy around it, stays open late, it's loud, potential like drunk drivers, stuff like that. So I guess I can see. I'm just kind of like thinking out loud. You know, I like to try to take as much like many different perspectives as possible. Try to figure out like how other people think. Because that's we just talk about it, figure out, and we understand, and hopefully we grow and figure out a way to like make everything work together.
And even if you're debating with people, like I've had a lot of debates with people about cannabis and about whether it's good for you or not, or bad for you, and whether you should do it or not. Like people have told me, oh, you shouldn't get into the cannabis industry. It's high risk. And in my opinion, what's the risk? Like, what am I risking? Right now, what we're doing, I don't see it as dangerous at all. But there are certain parts in the industry where it is dangerous, where you do hear about people getting robbed. You hear stuff like that, and I feel like because that's still in the industry, it's causing a lot of things like banks not to approve of loans to cannabis businesses. It's causing a lot of people to be skeptical of getting into the business. And that's sort of hard. And I feel like one way to solve that is developing transparency in the companies, being as transparent as possible, letting people know who you are, where you're from, what your message is, and what your impact is for the community.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's kind of like transparency is like legally necessary, right? Like, because it's the whole like seed to sale tracking and all that kind of stuff. So like you can just take that a step further, and instead of like, oh wow, like we're so like regulated, think of it as like, no, this is our opportunity to like really like connect, right? Really show people like who we are. Yeah. So instead of like thinking like, oh, we got to do all these like lab results to like make sure cannabis is like within this certain like THC, CBD levels and all that, then it's like, oh, like this is how much that, branding wise, like this is how much that we care about our customers, that like we make sure like we're in some certain percentage, and all that kind of stuff to make sure we're only giving you like the absolute best and all that. Just try to take something that may be negative, try to flip it to a positive.
Yeah, make the most out of what you can. I feel like I was thinking right now, like in the alcohol industry, breweries, right? Breweries are very transparent because when you go to them, you can, if you want to just have a beer, you can have a beer. If you want to see the facility, you can see it. I feel like what about cannabis? Like, can there be like some sort of cannabis brewery style type, or like a farmhouse where you have a sort of weed lounge and
Or like
then
a winery.
yeah,
Like wineries are huge. People
yeah.
go see the grapes. They
Mm-hmm.
like help try to make the wine, all that.
Yeah,
Like
we need to start implementing that, make it more transparent, invite people to come in. But see, that's where you risk. There's still that high risk of, you got to be careful with who you invite. That's the hard part about this industry.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like changing from the dark into the light and coming out into the legal market. It's very difficult, It's very stressful, very expensive, It's crazy. But I feel like as time goes on, as these laws sort of simmer down and all these new bills get passed on, eventually it will be hopefully a smooth route, it'll be smoother for people to get into the industry.
Yeah. Because we need to open it up to more people. Because I mean, think about if we just keep everything where only the elites have access to like this huge industry, then it's just the rich getting richer.
Exactly.
Right? And then it's like off of the backs of all the maybe less socioeconomically fortunate people that were, went to jail for it, or, had to do time for it, had to, lose a lot of opportunities because now they're criminals when they come back and they try to enter the job market.
And
you can't get hired anywhere.
Man.
So what do you do? Like it's like all this cycle. And then it just goes back to the grass is greener thing.
Yeah, no,
like,
every time I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, it just, that documentary really, it really touched me, it really opened my eyes. And that's the good thing I like about 2019 is you can learn so much now, like whether it's via Netflix, all the documentaries that are coming out, or if you're on YouTube, or if you're just simply doing your research. Like when I do my research in cannabis, I strictly look for journal articles or published by, credible sources. But even people who have blogs, like people say a lot of, creative things. And I don't know, I just feel like everybody has a voice and you can pinpoint certain things from people. You can grasp that little bit of advice and you can learn, and I feel like as everybody learns more about cannabis and the benefits, then it's sort of like that aha moment. Like when you talk to people and then you're trying to convince them that the whole thing about cannabis and how great it is for you. And like at first they're trying to backlash you with, oh, like it'll lose your brain memory, this and this and that. They try to find their pinpoints, but once you see, like, I call them their buying signs. Once you see them, like, oh, really? Like that's how it is? Oh, wow. Then you know that you kind of open their mind, and hopefully they're open to it.
Yeah.
But I think that, like I said, we're getting in the right direction, and hopefully we just continue to do that. We're in this to make a big impact in the community, and I hope that we can really do this.
Yeah,
it's
and
fun.
it's just the talking about it. It's just making it present, bringing it out into the light, trying to destigmatize it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're kind of talking about like trying to sell somebody on it, right?
Yeah.
The benefits of it and how it shouldn't be stigmatized, right? But there's there's a push and pull, like marketing. Here I go again.
Yeah.
It's the onion run's got me thinking about college again.
Oh man.
But no, so there's push and pull, right?
Yeah.
So you can push somebody towards a sale. You're like, no, it's good for you. These are the benefits. Look at how positive it is. But then there's the pull where it's like you kind of like entice them to like
right.
come in and check it out, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the pull is where people they more decide for themselves, and like they see us talking about it, or they see it on their explore feature, or they see politicians discussing it. They see that it's being legalized more. They see dispensaries opening it up. Maybe smoke lounges in the future. Maybe these winery style grow operations.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? And it's just like that discussion of it starts to remove that taboo a bit.
Yeah.
And then that's what I think will pull people in, where they kind of decide for themselves, okay, maybe it isn't so bad, right? Like that's how I was, right?
Yeah. Me too.
I was like against it, and then it was like, okay, I see people around me doing it, and like they're not like suffering from like all these things that are supposedly gonna happen like the moment you like look at the devil's lettuce, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like, okay, well, I'm gonna do a little bit of research on my own. Maybe I'll ask somebody about it, you know, and like they'll give me their experience and all that. And then that's when you decide, like, you know, then I just decided for myself, like, okay, yeah, I'd like to try it. You know, maybe it's not so bad.
I feel like the most fascinating thing about it is you won't ever be able to understand cannabis until you try it. Like that. At the end of the day, I can't say that if I hadn't tried cannabis, then I wouldn't have known what it's like to be high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I saw on Twitter, I forgot what it was. It was like a news feed or news video where they created like these goggles that were supposed to show the visual impairment of when you're driving while high.
Yeah.
Man, it's just literally like it did not look at all like what it's supposed to be like when you're high. Like, it was nowhere near it, and it's just like I bet you the people who made those had never smoked in their life. Like I can almost guarantee. And if they have, man, what I don't know what you're smoking on.
it's all the fungus and the mold.
Yeah,
and all that
man.
kind of stuff,
It's like,
right?
yo, you need to get your lab results and everything, man. And yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, bro, about the lab results and the mold and pesticides. It reminds me of food. Remember when the whole GMO thing came out?
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, the pesticides and all that on your fruit. I feel like it's similar. Like right now in the cannabis industry, that's the big thing right now is making sure that you're smoking, you know, staying away from synthetic marijuana because that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, that's where people hearing the stories of people dying, I've heard that it's from synthetic marijuana as well. So like you have to definitely be careful. Yeah. But that's just one more reason to buy legal. You know, that's just one more reason is the quality. It's you know that it's not going to hurt you and it's also like very good, you know?
Yeah, and it's something that you trust, right? So like if I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, you know, I mean, weed prices are different all over the place, right? But say it's like X at a dispensary.
Yeah.
And then it's like X over 2 if I go to the black market, right? And it's like, why is it so much cheaper? I get that there's regulation and stuff, but like, why is it half the price, you know, or whatever, you know, and they're like, oh, no, it's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. It's like, is it though? You know, like
that's the one thing everybody says about it. Whenever you see flower in a dispensary, it's like, oh, it's really good. But it's like, if everything's really good, which one is better than which, you know? And that's sort of when I go to the bud tender and I always ask for the recommendation, you know, even if it's like when I'm getting my hair cut, he's asked me how I want it. It's like, this is sort of how I want it, but you're the one cutting my hair, so I trust you. However you feel is going to be better. That's how I am with bud tenders. So when I go there, I say, hey, like indica, sativa, you know, you walk in and then let's say I want a sativa, though I'll ask for 2 options. Then I'll say, which one do you think is better based off those 2? And then it's easy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they're the experts, right?
Exactly. You know, it's like asking a barista which coffee you think is better or which should I try, the caramel macchiato or the cloud macchiato. You know, stuff like that. But I was a barista too, actually. I don't know if you guys know that, but shout out to at Blazing Barista. Her name's Allie. She was a barista as well. I met her. She's awesome. Met her at a CGN event. It was awesome. But yeah, that's just, I don't know why we were talking about baristas. Now it's got me on coffee, man. And there's even cannabis, there's CBD coffee. Like, dude, I got to try some, man.
Yeah, I want to try. I still haven't gotten the CBD oil for my hand. Although it's feeling a little bit better.
It's feeling better though?
A little bit. Yeah. All right. Starting to.
It'd be faster, bro, if you had that CBD
oil.
True. I was actually in Mother's Kitchen yesterday or a couple days ago. I was in Mother's Kitchen, you know, the one in Brea. And right there at the register, it said CBD lotion, like 100% CBD lotion. I was like, wow, like right there at the register. And then there was also a lady who was giving out CBD or hemp tincture samples. And she was talking to people about it. Yeah, in the Mother's Kitchen store. I was like, wow, like that's so crazy how it's like, you know, cannabis is illegal, but hemp is still legal. You know, hemp is legal and you can promote it in a grocery store, but you can't, you know, in Brea, you can't buy marijuana there's no like legal recreational dispensaries. So it's just crazy, you know, how far the spectrum is and how different everything, you know, hemp, CBD, THC, they're just all different categories, but they all fall under the cannabis umbrella.
Yeah, and then people don't like know the differences, you know. Maybe for our next for upcoming podcasts, we should like do a deep dive into like what are the differences in like THC versus CBD. What is hemp? What is
especially the hemp versus CBD. I'm not too knowledgeable of that, so we're definitely gonna get some guests in, and we're gonna get that rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is a great episode, man. I think we got a lot of great content. I want to thank you all for listening. Tune in. The audio drops every Wednesday, and then the following Monday we'll drop it on YouTube and WeTube. I'm Gabe.
I'm Rob.
And thanks for watching Socials Podcast.
We'll see you again next time.